lot of fun things going down here. There's a leftover pair of scissors if you'd like them. Episode 53, though, I digress. We've got Big Ten East expectations and predictions.
I digress.
Big Ten East expectations and predictions. If you're not already, if you're listening, make sure 5-star review over on Spotify. That would mean a lot. Subscribe over on YouTube. Been close to 50 subscribers over there. That'd be a big, pretty big first milestone of Southern Boys Sports. So if you don't mind, make sure head over there and do that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not rocking with the feet in the frame. I kind of want to go fix it.
Look, I really don't know what else we can do.
I kind of want to go. I'm going to go fix it.
I mean, well, we're going Big Ten East here. I don't know. Did you say that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Big Ten East. I think we both have a kind of like similar sense in where the teams stand.
Sure.
So I think we both have the same bottom team in the conference.
Yeah, we have the same bottom team of the conference. We really up and down. The Big Ten East isn't going to be up for much debate just because it's one of the better divisions in all of college football. It's one of the better conferences in all of it. Is the best division in college football.
I thought you meant debate like who's winning it.
No. Of like 7, 6, 5, 4.
Yeah.
Like there could be a debate between 2 and 1, but I think up to 3, a lot of people will have the same teams. A lot of people. I'd say 85% or a little bit more. So
I think 4.
Well, sure.
I think the bold people.
We'll start with number 7 here in the conference. If you're an Indiana Hoosier fan, we appreciate your
What?
You have Rutgers at 7?
Yes.
No, Indiana's at 7. But you know who their quarterback is, Ben? The Indiana Hoosiers
Yes, I do.
QB, Haven, middle name Jackson. All right? Taven Jackson is an absolute stud. Let's start, though. For the first 2 teams, I didn't give wins, losses, and toss-ups. Once we got down to number 5, I started doing that. So I won't start that with 7 and 6. I'll kind of just give a prediction for the listeners and all that good stuff. Before we jump into number 7, make sure, like I said, subscribe over on YouTube. Get us to 50 subs over there. We got the 300 followers over on Twitter. So thank you all for that. People following over there, we do appreciate it. At @so_boy_sports. A follow would be much appreciated. Get at us over there. Post interactive graphics. Tweet a lot. And keep us updated. Keep you updated with the college football world. So make sure to go follow over there. At Southern_boy_sports_pod is our Instagram. So make sure catch up with us over on Instagram. Check out the stories. There's going to be a post. From whenever, we post an episode, that'll be up. Same with the story. Need to follow, need to get to 100 followers as our first milestone over on Instagram. So looking to do all that good stuff. Let's jump into our first team in the Big Ten East, Ben. The Indiana Hoosiers, the 7th team in the conference. I got them with a ceiling of 8-4. I got them with a floor of 3-9 and a prediction of 4-8. So I think the Indiana Hoosiers win 4 games here in 2023. Like I said, though, Taven Jackson at QB transfers in. Their old quarterback, Connor Bazelak, came over from Missouri, and he's now at Bowling Green. So he's kind of climbed down the rank from Missouri to Indiana to Bowling Green. Tom Allen remains as the head coach, right? He's 30-40. 30-40 as a head coach. And he hasn't sniffed a bowl game since 2020. Spent time as the DC, Ole Miss, Drake, all those good things. So he is a defensive-minded head coach. We'll get to the defense. That was absolutely abysmal in 2022. But in 2023, Ben, I could see him making a slight step in the right direction. But they give up 34 points per game in 2022, which is good for 120th in college football, and gave up almost 450 yards per game defensively. So an absolutely abysmal defense under Coach Tom Allen and company. Ben, I'll let you get to your first take on IU. Not a big fan of this team here in 2022 or 2023 as much as I would love to root for Taven Jackson this year.
Yeah, I've got their ceiling at 7-5, floor at 3-9, and the prediction at 4-8. So wins against, I got Indiana State, Akron, Rutgers, and Purdue. Losses I got to Ohio State, Louisville, Maryland, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan State.
Yep.
And, I really like Taven Jackson. He does not have that job, right?
He does have that job.
There's still a battle.
That's his job.
There's still a battle. Because him and Brendan Sorsby are fighting for it currently. I think we saw them both in the spring game.
Yeah.
And, I think that could be a battle that we, maybe catches you off guard.
Sure.
Something I will say, they brought in the 18th best transfer class. Something I will
did see
highlight,
that.
though,
Yeah, I did see that.
is that, who they lost? Mr. Dason McCullough.
Dason McCullough to the Oklahoma Sooners. Oklahoma Sooners.
And that's a big loss, but they look to improve at many positions from last year. And some two people on both sides of the ball that I saw were Cam Camper, receiver.
I met him. I tell you that.
How do you meet so many?
I was in Indiana for. Was I in Indiana?
Oh, yeah,
I was at Indiana.
That baseball camp.
Yeah, and then I was walking to the gate because I thought it was a baseball field. It was like the turf practice football field. And they were saying, hey, we're going to meet at the indoor facility. He was freezing. So I walked up to the football facility. It was the outdoor. I didn't know that. So I walked up, and freaking Cam Camper was like, they were just throwing the ball around, him and whoever it was. I don't know. Some quarterback or a coach or something like that. And I was like, is a baseball thing over there? And he was like, nah, man, this is football. So I met Cam Camper.
Met is a strong word.
I had an interaction and met Cam Camper.
There you go.
All-time Drew meet crew is right now. The team is AJ Swan, Cam Camper, and Barryon Brown at receiver.
That's solid.
Not a bad team. If you put those boys out there, they're winning 5 games at least. We got to get a whole offensive line, a running back, some tight ends, all that good stuff. But Indiana, right? Indiana. They got a bunch of transfers on defense. I don't know about you, but I definitely saw that they got a bunch of defensive transfers. 5 of those guys ultimately projected to start by a couple of resources that I checked out. Andre Carter, the DN from Western Michigan. Philip Bleedy, the senior D tackle from Texas Tech. Jacob Mangum-Farrar, the linebacker from Stanford. Jameer Johnson, the cornerback from Texas. And Nicholas Toomer, the redshirt junior linebacker from Stanford. They should be improved on defense. You got a defensive-minded head coach in Tom Allen, Indiana fans. You got a lot of Power 5 experience on the defensive side of the ball, especially bringing in all 5 of those transfers, who 4 of them were Power 5 guys with, experience at the respective school. So I like this defense to take a little bit of a step in the right direction. I should say, I think they're going to be a pretty solid team. And they're just not talented enough, in my opinion. Yes, you get these transfers. Yes, you get these guys. But I don't know if you've got the Jimmies and Joes to go out there and beat Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. Actually, I know for a fact you don't have the Jimmies and Joes to go out there and beat, the Louisvilles that you have in out of conference. To go out there and beat the Purdue's. That's going to be a close game. Like all that stuff. I'm not sure they've got that. But like you said, Cam Camper on offense, Donovan McCulley at wide receiver, DeKeys Carter at wide receiver. Like, they've got a pretty talented group, not to mention my boy, Taven Jackson. I'm going to be rooting for him this year. So I'm rooting for him, and especially when we're doing predictions and expectations, Ben, when we do these things, it's always hard when they have people that you like to not make them a dark horse. Like, I don't know about you, but like this team, I have a lot of people that I really am rooting for, whether it's Cam Camper, Taven Jackson. I like the running back Josh Henderson. I like all those guys. I can't do anything with them, though. You know what I mean? Can't do anything with them.
Right, and that is one of the worst things you could be when you're doing something like this. Is being a homer is something that is not good for your reputation.
Yeah.
And so you have to take all of that stuff out of context. And I know you love Taven Jackson. Your guy went to Tennessee, but you have to think about maybe the job isn't his.
The job is his. I will say.
I think he will be the starting quarterback, but a 4-star transfer you bring in, they wanted him for a reason,
Yeah.
And so I see that. And it is a team. Or you have a rough schedule.
Yeah.
You get Indiana State and Akron, and then you don't get much else. Rutgers.
Maybe.
Right. That is a win, but it's really not easy. Every other team, Louisville, Purdue, Illinois, they're rough games. They are losable games, which is the main thing. And this Indiana team, Taven Jackson, little experience. If he is starting,
exactly. And their first game of the season,
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Taven Jackson getting his first really, if he's starting, like Ben's saying here. His first really full game college football experience against the number, I'll say, top 3 or 4 or 5 team in the country in the Ohio State Buckeyes. Probably the most really good defensive team that's expected to take a step in the right direction nonetheless. So Taven Jackson kind of thrown into the fire. Like you said, 4-star guy, dual threat QB. I think he's got potential to be a better quarterback than Connor Bazelak was. And like I said, transferred out. Connor Bazelak's out. Taven Jackson's in. Ben, trivia question for you. I know you have a question for me later on.
I do. Well, it's not
the question here, Connor Bazelak was a quarterback last year for Indiana. And you know who the quarterback before that was? He's something now. He's something now.
Okay, that's just like that makes me so confused.
You want me to tell you?
Just give me a hint.
He's a lefty. He still plays college football.
Is it Tulio?
No.
Okay, I don't know any of
Michael Penix Jr.
I forgot.
Michael Penix
he
Jr.
didn't even. There was I think he was in a QB battle.
Yeah, he was like not that good of a. I mean, I'm sure he was good. He just had untapped potential.
I forget that. I read that earlier today.
Yeah. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer kind of brought it out of him. So yeah, Michael Penix since then kind of been spinning for a QB, and we'll see if Taven Jackson or the other guy in that QB room, like you said, there, Ben.
Clearly didn't.
Indiana.
They won 2 games. That
Yeah,
year.
yeah. No, they were never that good. So. Let's get into the expectations for this team, Ben. We do it for every team. Let's get into it. This team should be shooting for a bowl game. Okay, if you're inside this locker room, if you're Tom Allen, if you're a guy inside the locker room, I think you need to shoot for 6 games, right? I think a 6-win season, a bowl game appearance is a step in the right direction for a pretty young team, right? This team's really unknown. I expect no more than 6 wins, Ben. That's just my opinion. I don't think this team wins anything else than 6. I think that's definitely, what I expect out of them. But from me, from you, I believe, and from a lot of people in the college football landscape, 4 or 5 wins is my prediction. I think a 4, 8, 5, 7 season could leave Tom Allen on the hot seat. Not making a bowl game definitely could heat his seat up just a little bit, in my honest opinion. So, Indiana, really tough schedule. Like you said, the Big Ten East is no freaking cupcake. And I think they go 4-8, Ben. 4-8, my final prediction for the Indiana Hoosiers. Let's go to the number 6 team in the Big Ten East, right? Piscataway, New Jersey. Let's go up northeast, Ben. Let me put them here on the screen for our viewers over on YouTube. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights, all right? An interesting team led by Gavin Wimsatt, Greg Schiano. Guys we'll dive in on, but ceiling of 8-4 for me. Floor of 3-9, a prediction of 5-7 ultimately for Rutgers, and just 1 game better than the final team in the Big Ten East in Indiana. So Rutgers 5-7, my prediction. I'll let you dive in, kind of get your 2 cents in on them, and then I'll jump in and give some tidbits on this Rutgers team and our predictions on them ultimately.
Yeah, I was on a different mindset here. I have them in the last in the Big East or Big Ten East. I had ceiling 5-7, floor 1-11. Doubt it, but that's the floor.
It's floor, sure.
And I've got him going 3-9. I've got the wins against Northwestern. Week 1, we
know what's going on at Northwestern, sure.
Wagner and then Temple.
Yeah.
I've got losses to Virginia Tech, Michigan, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Indiana, OSU, Iowa, Penn State, and Maryland.
Yeah, my difference is I had him beating Virginia Tech and I had him beating Indiana. Yeah. So that was my difference there. Like you said, the floor is low. Right, I think
you beat Wagner, you could lose to Northwestern, and you could lose to Temple. But I think Wagner is their for sure win.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's fair. I mean, I understand the floor there. I thought I put it low at 3-9. The 1-11 floor. Greg Schiano has not proven to be anything in his second stint at Rutgers. Right, his first stint, they were in the Big East. Right, he was a really, really competitive head coach. He was consistently sending them to bowl games. Went off, I want to say, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I have his other college stop here, and Ohio State. He was an associate head coach at Ohio State before rejoining here at Rutgers, and he really hasn't done anything, right? 12-22 in his second stint with the Scarlet Knights. Hasn't done much. This year, I don't expect him to do much. Like you said, like we continue to say for these Big Ten East schools, really tough schedule, right? Redshirt sophomore QB Gavin Wimsatt comes in. He's a guy who is a solid runner, right? He's a pretty solid passer. Didn't really see much out of him last year. 757 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 INTs. So not a great stat line, reading stat line there from Gavin Wimsatt, but I believe in his legs. I believe in him as a player. I think he definitely takes a step up. He's got to be better than that, right, Ben? I mean, he's got to be better than a 5 to 7 touchdown interception ratio if this team wants to do anything, except like you said, go 1-11, go 2-10, go 3-9, right? So he's got to take a step up. In the backfield, Samuel Brown is the dude, 374 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. A lot of unprovenness, if that's a freaking word, across the board for this Rutgers offense, for this Rutgers defense, for the coaching staff. You bring in 2 new coordinators, and so a lot of just we don't know for Rutgers as of right now. So a relatively high ceiling, pretty low floor for Rutgers. I'll let you get in a couple more things about Rutgers before we ultimately end off, go to our expectations, and get to the number 5 team in the Big Ten East.
Yeah, well, I said they brought in the 59th best recruiting class.
Yep.
And bringing quality players all around the ball from the portal.
Yeah.
And so that is something that this team needs to do. It's really you do lose a lot. And I said their defense was the one bright spot last year, with a bad offense, and their defense is a bright spot. And players such as Tyreen Powell, I said Aaron Lewis, and Max Melton.
Aaron Lewis is the beast, yeah.
And there is a battle at QB. Evan Simon, who did play last year.
He played more last year, yeah.
He had 777 yards, 4 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Yeah, same stat line, basically.
57% completion, though. I would say that's a bit better.
Yeah.
But I also did say the running back duo is solid.
It's not bad, no.
And you can kind of trust it with Kyle.
Don't butcher it, baby. Don't butcher it.
Manon guy.
Yeah.
And Samuel Brown the fifth.
Sure.
Solid guys that you could use both ways, and I think they could be a duo that could help this team win games.
Yeah. We talk about the offense, right? We talk about Gavin Wimsatt, Evan Simon, Samuel Brown the fifth, all these guys, all these weapons out wide that Rutgers has. But Kirk Ciaroca is brought in to run the offense this year, a new OC. He was with Greg Schiano from 2008 to 2010. But since then, Penn State, Minnesota, couple other FCS schools. I think it was Delaware, and a couple stops within the Big Ten. So we'll see what he can do on offense. Hopefully he can propel this team to the next level, because what they had was not working. That is clear. So we'll see. He hasn't proved to be absolutely phenomenal offensive coordinator, not one of those highly titled guys that we talk about at Rutgers or in the college football landscape. So good thing for him. 10 of the 11 projected starters are returning players. So a lot of returning guys on offense, but just a lot of prove-it guys, right? A lot of guys who didn't get a lot of touches or carries or receptions last year that are going to be expected to get a lot of carries, touches, pass yards, whatever this year. So you bring in Nassim Brantley, the transfer from Western Illinois, Sacred Heart. He'll probably be wide receiver 1, but Chris Long, Christian Dramel, and Sean Bowman, right? All those guys, tight ends, wide receivers, all hands on deck to kind of get the pass game going this year for Rutgers, because like you said, 2 struggling QBs at the helm for Greg Schiano. So we'll see, Ben. Anything on their defense? I know I got a couple notes on their defense. If you don't, I'll go ahead and jump in and get the expectations.
Obviously they're going to need. So I said Max Melton. He's a.
You mentioned their linebacking core, yeah,
and their linebacking core was good. I think they have 2 good linebackers, and they tackled. They find the ball well.
Yeah,
they get down the person with the ball. I know I'm struggling to speak. And so the defense was the bright spot last year, and they're hoping it can be the same this year, to where they improve the offense.
Yeah.
Defense plays the same.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, 4 defensive transfers. I know all we talk about sometimes is the transfer portal class, but it's such a big deal now.
It's compelling now.
Yeah. Flip Dixon. I think his actual name is Michael, but a lot of people call him Flip. I'm here for it. Cool, nice nickname. And he's a senior safety. Eric Rogers Jr. transfers in at cornerback, and a couple other pickups on the defensive line. So a lot of guys that are going to transfer in, see immediate time, help these Rutgers Scarlet Knights up front, in the secondary, whatever it takes. Like I said, all hands on deck, because they gave up 29 points per game and 351 total yards of offense and a horrible defensive effort. So bringing a new DC, has a solid group, DB coach in his past. So expectations for this team, Ben, are we ready for them?
Go ahead.
Make a bowl game. If you're Greg Schiano, if you're this team, you expect to make a bowl game. That's what I'm shooting for, to stay off. Because here's the thing. I think Greg Schiano is kind of built up, quote, tenure. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my quotes. If you're listening, you can't. But he's kind of built a tenure where it's hard to fire him. He had a great stint his first time at Rutgers where he was a winning head coach. Second stint, not so much, right? So I think it's not even that he's on the hot seat. I don't even think he's fired. Whatever, like a lot of these cliche things that we say about other coaches. I just think it's the same old Rutgers team that's down in the toilet of college football if you can't make a bowl appearance this year. But I don't think they do it. The last time they made a bowl game was freaking 2014. So if they can sneak 6 wins, I'd love to see it. They've got a pretty fun atmosphere. They got this, they got that. Just not super talented. A really rough Big Ten East schedule. And 5-7 for me. Like you said, Ben, you got to go lower, 3-9, 4-8. So like you said, low prediction for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Love to see him prove us wrong.
Right, and for expectations, in my opinion, I think it really is for Graciano. You gotta see the recruits do something.
Sure.
You know, like they need a quarterback.
Yeah.
You need to bring in somebody that like we were talking about with Billy Napier at Florida.
Yeah.
You know, like okay, maybe they go 4-8 this year, but you see DJ Lagway, you see those guys he's bringing in. You know, there's hope.
Yep.
Graciano has got to find those dudes that give potential hope, and so I think it really the expectations are to let those young guys that he's bringing in shine, and see some improvement.
Yeah, we'll see what Rutgers can do here. We'll see. Let's get on to the next team. Nope, that is actually not the next team that we're going to talk about. Unfortunately, kind of tricked you there.
Sneak peek.
Michigan State, man. The Michigan State Spartans of the Big Ten East. Ceiling of 9-3 for me, a floor of 4-8, and a prediction of 6-6.
Yep.
Here's where we start the wins, losses, and toss-ups for me. Wins against Central Michigan, Richmond, Rutgers, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Indiana. My losses are Washington, Maryland, Iowa, Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. I've got toss-ups against Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I would say my ceiling 8-4, floor is 3-9. I do have them going 6-6.
There we go.
With the same wins and losses. So
we got the same prediction.
Great minds think alike.
There we go. Yeah,
we've got the same wins and losses here.
Yeah. Big step back for Mel Tucker. Obviously going to be the headline of anybody who talks about Michigan State, brings up Michigan State in any type of conversation, is the pooping of the bed that he put on the college football world. And fit hit the shan last year, right? One of my favorite sayings here on the pod.
Getting into that.
Yeah, it sure did happen last year. Not a great year. K9 wasn't there. Keon Coleman and Peyton Thorne now transfer out. You went 5-7 after a huge, ginormous extension of 10 years and $95 million. So the pressure is on in East Lansing to go out and perform. You got a young team this year, Ben, that we're about to break down. And like I said, huge shoes to fill between the QB, wide receiver connection, and Peyton Thorne and Keon Coleman. If you want to kick it off for us here, let's talk Sparty.
Right. Well, I mean, they lose, like you said, Peyton Thorne, Keon Coleman, Jaden Reed as well.
Yep.
But you do bring in a top 25 recruiting class.
Yep.
And so those guys will have to contribute. And Mel Tucker, if he needs to do his job this year, and I would put my thing, if he has a bad year, the seed is almost blazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to show something. And, they really do. They need to. Noah Kim is somebody that will have to step up.
Sure.
He will need to. And another thing that I've said is the defense was bottom 110 in the country. It was bottom 110 in the country. So they were worse. They were better than 20 teams.
Okay, so
they were 110th in defense.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
And so that has to be changed in the Big Ten, whereas that is something that is looked upon, and you see a team like Iowa, and it's like they're good because of their defense.
Yeah.
Michigan State is not good because of their defense. So that's kind of something that will hurt them, and they need to change those things.
Yeah. Like you said, gave up 27 points per game, which was 74th in college football. But offensively, right, like you said, Noah Kim going to have to step up. Projected QB1 as of right now, 3-star out of high school. Kind of waited his turn at Michigan State, whether it's Rocky Lombardi, Peyton Thorne, all those guys. He's came in, waited his turn. Now it's his time to come out like you see there on the graphic, right? He's kind of the poster boy here at Michigan State. Thank you for removing that from my proximity. Montori Foster, Christian Fitzpatrick, Trey Mosley, all those guys at wide receiver. Nebraska transfer Alante Brown as well. 100-plus yard receiving last year and limited touches. Obviously, Casey Thompson wasn't the best guy to go out there and get him the ball, so we'll see what he can do. Let's talk O-line, Ben. Let's talk the freaking beefs and potatoes of the O-line. They returned 5 starters. All 5 guys come back after Noah Samac returned, and they got a veteran group, right? Pretty young in the backfield with Noah Kim, couple transfer running backs. They aren't all going to be on the same page, so a veteran offensive line does help. And aforementioned running back room, Jalen Berger is a returner. Nathan Carter is a transfer from UConn, a redshirt sophomore. And Jaron Mangum, USF in Colorado. Solid room, but Ben, nothing like freaking Kenneth Walker III. K9, absolute demon at Michigan State, absolute demon in the NFL so far for the Seahawks. So nothing like him, nothing you can do to replace that guy. We'll see if Mel Tucker can survive on his own without that dog in the backfield.
Right, and they kind of found somebody last year in Jalen Berger.
Yeah.
And they will need him. But they like you said, the transfers, They brought in 3 different 3-star tight ends. They are ready to help out Noah Kim. They brought in a receiver. They brought in 2 running backs. They are ready to help out Noah Kim.
All hands on deck.
And they are trying their best. And,
Yeah.
that is something that will have to happen. Noah Kim, last year 174 yards, 3 touchdowns,
No picks. Yeah, no picks.
But on 19 pass attempts. So they are going to need to see it.
I mean, 3 touchdowns on 19 pass attempts. Like,
It's solid.
that's kind of wild.
You really, it is going to be a rough time. You get Central Michigan, you get Richmond,
2 wins.
and then you get Washington.
Yeah.
And then Maryland. That is not easy at all. And so they are going to need to figure it out early and get that connection soon in the season.
Yeah, let's go back to the defense. Talked offense, let's go defense, and then we're ultimately going to get at the expectations just like always. They gave up 27 points per game, Ben. Like you said, that was stinky. 74th in college football. Linebacking core, though. Cal Halliday will be a beast in 2023. A lot of media outlets, when you talk MSU, the limited time that they do, they're talking about highly drafted middle linebackers, right? Cal Halliday is one of those guys. 120 total tackles, 1 sack, 1.5 sacks, 11 TFLs last year. So he was a beast in the backfield, a spotlight on a pretty bad team for Michigan State. And I like what they got. Samar Melvin, Chester Kimbrough, and look, this offense has to be decent because I think the defense will take care of business. Offense has to be good enough to let the defense work, you know what I mean, and propel this team into bowl eligibility. Let's get to my expectations, Ben. 5th team in the Big Ten East. Let's get to the expectations here on episode 53. I think Michigan State should expect a bowl game in 2023. I really think they should expect 7, 8, 9 wins. But that's not going to happen, in my humble opinion. Mel Tucker, after that 10-2 season, set the bar way up here, right? And I think that's something that is going to kind of come back and bite him. But a bad season in year 2, and like you said, Mel Tucker could be kind of on the warm seat, right? A warm seat. The only reason I don't think he gets fired or is on the blazing seat is just because of his contract. I don't think they're going to want to cut ties and pay that out for whatever it is. But lots of returning players. Like I said, offense is going to be a question mark. See if their defense can work. Cal Halliday, the big name to keep up with on the defensive side of the ball for MSU. Ben, there's their helmet up there, by the way. We were representing. I think we got a couple Big Ten East helmets up front if you're watching on YouTube. So I digress, though. Ben, anything else on Michigan State?
I will give you what I think they should expect. I think you 100% want a bowl game. You should expect a bowl game. But I think if Mel Tucker needs to be better. That's what you expect him.
Yeah.
You expect him to be better.
Yeah.
And really he needs to be better.
Yeah.
So I would expect just a season that looks more better than last year. And I literally just said that, but losing Peyton Thorne, losing Keon Coleman, losing Jaden Reed, but still, I want him to improve and show that he is developing the players right and that they will get better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you're not already, right? If you're not already, this is also a cut point for when I freaking edit this out and, find the individual videos. Mm-hmm. Cut point for Drew. If you're not already, quick plug at
Wow.
At @so_boy_sports over on Twitter, at southern_boy_sports pod over on Instagram. Code SBS15 at universitytraditions.biz. Code southernboys at laststandhats.com. I'm probably going to shout that out during the, you look like you are.
Well, why are you doing this?
Well, because I just got to mix it. I can't just, I can't just get right into number 4. You kind of got to, break it up.
You already said all this.
I know, but you can't just shoot into it. You kind of got to give the listeners the time.
Okay, I'll ask you my question.
Break open their Coke. Okay, Ben's got a question for me. He told me in the pre-episode, I guess you could call prep, kind of getting everything ready, getting everything set up here on set. He's got a question for me. So, Ben, I'll allow you to talk and ask the question. I don't know why I'm saying it like I'm your father. I'm allowing you to say it, but no, go ahead with your question.
It's something where I hope you remember what wins you had 2019 in that 2020 season.
Auburn was then.
So I'm asking you, what is the vacated win that you will miss the most?
That's a good question. Okay, vacated win that I'm going to miss the most. Okay.
Because they were saying on there, I think it was Indiana in the Gator Bowl.
You just stole my answer, so I appreciate that, Ben.
No.
Gator Bowl, I'll tell you what happened. Gator Bowl, Indiana, we went 8-4 that season. No, 7-5. Okay, we went 7-5 that season. We were not very. We were okay. I think is that the same year we beat Auburn? Maybe. Yeah, that is because we went 3-9 the next year. That was stinky. Yeah, Garantano was actually good this year though. Mm-hmm. So Garantano was actually not that bad of a football player.
Where it was just
post Dobbs, kind of
in the tribe.
Yeah, and Jeremy Pruitt was there. Like, I don't really know what's going on. Gator Bowl against Indiana. Okay, I was at a River Plantation just down the road, and we were watching the game, me and a couple of buddies, and so we were winning. I want to say the whole game. Somebody fumbled. Eric Gray, I believe. Somebody messed up. They got the ball back. They scored. Okay, they got the ball back. They score. They give us an onside kick. We have to get the onside kick because they score. We score back, but we're still down. We have to get the onside kick, and Eric Gray recovers the onside kick, go down the field, kick a field goal. I want to say it was like 23-22 was the final score. So I think the Gator Bowl is a great answer. The Auburn game, the Auburn game's a great choice. I with Beatty Noon was on the panel right now, so I'd give him a hard time about that. Sure, that would go over.
I remember that game.
I'm sure that would go over great. But no, that Auburn game, gonna miss. It was a very, very competitive game. I remember a couple deep shots from both teams, so that was fun. Game I won't miss, Ben, the double OT loss to BYU at Neyland.
I'm gonna miss that one.
At Neyland and the Georgia State opener.
That one is
loss.
vacated?
That's vacated, yeah. That's vacated. Doesn't count. So we're not talking about it anymore.
No, because it's a loss. The wins are vacated.
Yeah, you're right, actually. It's not vacated games. Actually, you're right. So Jeremy Pruitt is also like never going to coach college football again.
He's on like a what
5-7 year something. Like it's something weird. I don't.
Gone.
Yeah, he's done for. So I would say that will probably be missed the most is that Gator Bowl loss, or excuse me, Gator Bowl win over the aforementioned Indiana Hoosiers. But let's jump in. I had to break it up there, Ben. Good time for the question. Good time for some socials plugs. Number 4 team. Right, number 4 team. I'm going to hope that this is it. It is.
Genius.
The Maryland Terrapins, Ben. The Maryland Terrapins, the number 4 team in the Big Ten East. I saw our buddy from 3 Tech Pod, Garrett Turney. He did some writing for the college transfer portal college football preview magazine. We're not associated with him, but go check it out. Really good preview magazine. Follow him over on Twitter because they've been posting some previews of what they got inside of it. So no relation to him, no anything correlation. Go check him out though. But he was saying he wrote it up. Okay, he said the ceiling was 12-0, the floor was 7-5, and the realistic is what they said 10-2. And so one of the creators of 3 Tech Pod commented and said, if Maryland goes 10-2, I'll eat a shoe. I'll eat a shoe. I think that's kind of where we're sitting. 10-2, this team is not 10-2. This team is not freaking 10-2 football team. They are 9-3. They are a 9-3 football team here in 2023.
I agree.
Ceiling, 11-1. I think no matter what, you lose to one of these teams. I don't know if this team is good enough to run the table. Floor is 6-6. All right, floor is 6-6. I think you could lose a few games. It could get stinky. Prediction 9-3. My wins and losses may surprise you though, so let's get into it. Wins against Towson, Charlotte, Virginia, Michigan State, Indiana, Illinois, Rutgers, Northwestern, and Penn State. Losses to Michigan, Ohio State, and Nebraska. My toss-ups are Nebraska and Penn State. Ben?
Yeah, I've got them going 9-3 as well. I've got the ceiling at 10-2 because I think you're losing to 2 of those teams. Similar thoughts as you, but you're losing 2 of them at least. Floor 7-5 and a prediction 9-3. Wins against Townsend, Charlotte, Virginia, Michigan State, Indiana, Illinois, Northwestern, Nebraska, and Rutgers. So basically the same as you, but I think they beat Nebraska and lose to who did you say?
Penn State.
You said they were going to beat Penn State?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they lose to Penn State. So I've got them losing to the top 3 teams. And it really is unfortunate. I love this Maryland. I like this Maryland team. I like Talia, but you are facing 3 top 10. Is top 10 okay with you?
Yeah.
3 top 10 teams in college football.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, you went 7-5 last year, so a 2-game improvement is our prediction for both teams. 9-3 prediction from both of us. Mike Loxley, like the guy, like the head coaching over there. But let's take a look at their schedule, and I'll kind of explain why I had this Nebraska game as such a trap. It's because it's November 11th at Nebraska. So if anybody's going to be figured out, it's going to be college football teams. They're going to be figured out. Nebraska's going to know what they've got. Jeff Sims, he knows what he's got. Matt Rule has tested these dudes' balls, and, they know what they've got. Pause. Penn State comes November 4th, okay? Nebraska comes November 11th, and Michigan comes November the 18th. So you're sandwiched in between Penn State and Michigan.
No, yeah.
Penn State and Michigan, and I think here's the thing. You come off Illinois and Northwestern. So you're winning those games, in my humble opinion. In a lot of people's humble opinion, you're winning that game. But when you go into Penn State, you're freaking ready. You're freaking ready for Penn State, right? You're ramping up for Penn State. Talia's getting ready. Like, the film's going to be broken down to a T. You're going to know what Penn State's going to come out with, and I think you win that game. It's at home. You've got the home field advantage, and I think you win. Now, you go to Nebraska the next week, the next Saturday. You take on the Cornhuskers at Nebraska right before the Michigan game, which could be one of the biggest games of your season. If you're coming into this game, you'd be coming into this game 8-1. And probably one of the top-ranked teams in college football, Ben. So I think you lose to Nebraska. I think you're looking ahead. I think it's a huge trap game for Maryland. And I think you lose to Michigan, get back on track against Rutgers. That's my thinking on their kind of schedule. Roster-wise, wide receiver room stacked. When we had Eric Henry on, episode 13, talked FIU, talked Group of 5, but we talked Tyrese Chambers, one of the better receivers in all of college football, all of Group of 5 football. The FIU transfer, Caden Prather comes over from WVU, and Jayshon Jones will play the slot. Solid depth at wide receiver. Now, the poster boy for this team, Benjamin. The poster boy for this team is QB Talia Tagovailoa. Could be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big Ten, all of college football. Kid threw for 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns. We all know the stats. He's got the raw talent. He's able to get out and run. You've seen his brother. You've seen the way he's built. Seeing him play last year gave me a lot of confidence coming in here to 2023 of what this kid could do. I really like Talia Tagovailoa, and this is one of those things. I wish I could pick this team to go 11-1, 12-0, and make a friggin' Cinderella run to the college football playoff. I have them going 9-3. I think they're a pretty good team. I just don't know how high their ceiling is. But I like Talia, Ben. I love them.
No, right, and I agree. And I said they do have an exciting offense led by Talia and Roman Hemby at running back. He did great last year. Almost broke 1,000, 10 touchdowns. That is solid. And like you said, they bring in multiple ball-catching transfers to help on the offensive side of the ball, as well as you also bring in key pieces on defense. As on the defensive front, as Jaquan Shepard and Avante Williams, who I think is a corner, but on defensive side of the ball. And so they really are trying to help their team. And something that I will say, your Nebraska pick, I do like. I do like
it's kind of spicy, but it's a good pick.
I understand it. You're coming off from Penn State, who you have to prepare a lot for.
Yeah.
And then after Nebraska, you're playing Michigan.
Yeah.
So you are focusing on a lot on these two other games. And at Nebraska, sandwiched in between there, that is not a gimme at all.
Grab game.
And
sure.
Something else I will say, these are like the cheapest tickets I've ever seen.
I know. No, we're looking on ESPN here. $3, $4, $12, $41, $9, $68, $7, $30. Those are the ticket price numbers.
68 against Ohio State. I feel like that's
Yeah, it is a steal. Maybe we'll go down to frickin' Maryland and watch the college football
game where you see him beat.
Guess where I'm going? Ben?
I'm never gonna guess.
South Bend, Indiana, October 15th. USC taking on Notre Dame in Notre Dame. Shout out Weston.
How does this come up?
Shout out Weston. It's his birthday present. It was actually like a couple days ago, so happy birthday. But he's getting tickets for his birthday in advance going down to South Bend. I'm going with his brother, going with his dad. Hopefully all things pan out well. Nothing changes. Nobody gets sick. The game doesn't get canceled. Anything like that. I'm headed down there, Ben. I'm excited.
That is going to be a good game.
I'm freaking pumped, so it should be fun. But no, sorry. Kind of got us off track there. Offensive coordinator here.
Notre Dame's an interesting.
Offensive coordinators here. Two guys that are really, one more than the other, but proven college football head coaches. College football coaches, I should say. Josh Gaddis, obviously for Miami. The other one is Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin, the former Arizona and Texas A&M head football coach. This guy knows ball, right? He knows ball. He had a pretty solid stint at Texas A&M. I want to say coached in the USFL for a little bit. He's got that pro experience if you want to throw that in there. So I like this offense. You grab 4 transfer offensive linemen. You bolster that offensive line. Like you said, Roman Hemby was almost at 1,000-yard rusher last year. I think he could develop into one here in 2023, Ben. And Roman Brown, Antwain Littleton the second, also guys in the backfield. You mentioned those two guys on defense. But I want to get to their key pieces, right? I want to get to their key pieces. I'm not too sure how I'm going to pronounce this name, but it's Bo Brady. I want to say Bo Brade. Yes, one of those guys. 85 total tackles, 4 TFLs, and 2 interceptions. Free safety, beast of the secondary, senior, everything that you like to see from a key player of a team. I really, really like this kid. Really like what he's got going at Maryland. The other safety, guy opposite of him, Dante Trader, only a junior, key piece for Maryland. 62 total tackles, 2 interceptions. Very solid piece. 2 guys who could make a run at the NFL draft. So I like this team on defense. I like what they're working with. I think they got some dogs in the secondary. And not to mention they got my guy, redshirt freshman, Jordan Phillips, coming over from the Tennessee Vols. And a couple guys coming up from Jaquan Shepard, like you said, the cornerback from Cincinnati. Expectations for this team, Ben. Are we ready to get to the Terrapins' expectations?
Yeah.
Not a ton of expectations for this team. I know I kind of hyped it up, but this team doesn't really have a ton of expectations, right? It's such a tough division and conference. A lot of fans understand, a lot of media members understand that this is a really tough schedule. But if you remember what I said in episode 52 about the Tennessee Volunteers, max out your potential, right? Max out what you've got with this team. Play to your fullest potential with the talent you have. And I think they're going to be in a lot of success, right? I think you come out, you win the games you're supposed to win, and maybe, like I said, snag a game against Penn State and go out there, handle business on the road against a couple Big Ten East teams. I think you're set, right? I think you need it in the next couple of years, start pushing for a Big Ten East title, a Big Ten title, but all that stuff will come later. I think this is a 9-3 football team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and this, if you are looking at it, this is your year. So really, like, expectations wise, I would expect a 9-3. 10-2, maybe you beat one of those big teams here, but you really have to hope that in the future you are able to keep this up.
Yeah,
and for a team that they need to start bringing in a good quarterback. Talia, he's gone after this year if I'm not,
I believe,
wrong.
Yep.
And so they will need to start bolstering up the quarterback position again. You'll need to start making those moves. So I would expect to have a great year, but also maybe an adjustment year in the future.
Yeah. Very talented at all the skill positions. They just got to go in, win the grit and grime in the trenches, edge it out against a few Big Ten East teams if they want to make a run at this thing. The next team we're going to talk about, Ben, here's the part where I absolutely strain my eyes because I'm blind and I'm going to try and add this overlay. So let's try it out. Here I go.
Nope. There it is. Mm-hmm.
Not bad there, Ben. Not a terrible time. I think they're going to be here at the bottom. Shout out to OBS for making this episode possible. They're on the screen. Okay, I'm an idiot.
Did you not?
I'm an idiot. Sorry. The Penn State Nittany Lions. The Penn State Nittany Lions. I know. I'm an idiot. Ceiling 12-0. Floor 8-4. Prediction 10-2 for Penn State this year. Wins against West Virginia, Delaware, Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern, UMass, Ohio State, Indiana. I did not mean to put Ohio State. I apologize.
I was about to say that in bold.
I was reading that off. I did not mean to put Ohio State. UMass, Indiana, Michigan, Rutgers, Michigan State.
Wait, Michigan?
Wait, let me comprehend this. Yes, Michigan. Sorry. I did mean to put Michigan. I'll explain. My losses are to Ohio State and Maryland. Like I said, I have them winning that game. Toss-ups, Ohio State, Michigan, and Maryland. So my losses, to be clear, Ohio State and Maryland, they beat Michigan. They do not beat Ohio State. They beat Michigan.
I got ceiling 11-1 because you're a great ball club. I think you lose one of those games. Floor 8-4. My prediction, I said 10-2, along with you.
You just call them a ball club?
You're a great ball club. I've got lost to wins against West Virginia, Illinois, Northwestern Maryland, Rutgers, Delaware, Iowa, UMass, Indiana, Michigan State. Losses to OSU and Michigan. Not at all that you are a bad team. I just think they are teams that are built to win these types of games. And, it's nothing against Penn State. I think you are a great team. But Drew Allard going into an Ohio State and Michigan game as a freshman, a bit shaky. Or sophomore. Played a bit freshman year.
Less experienced player,
right.
I guess you could say. Keep in mind there, the Big East is super competitive. We continue to say it. This team could probably go out and compete in a lot of divisions of college football, win a lot of conferences. If you drop them in the Big 12,
don't say that.
They're competing for the title.
Yes, they are.
They're probably the favorite.
SEC West.
That's tough. Them or Alabama, I think. I mean,
or LSU.
Honestly, yeah, or maybe LSU. I think they're a better team than LSU. I think if you put them head up, Penn State wins that game. I think Penn State is a better football team than LSU.
Yes.
Nick Singleton, better player.
We haven't seen Drew Aller.
We haven't seen Drew Aller. I think their wide receivers could probably comparable. I think their offensive line better. I think their linebackers are better. I think their secondary. I won't say linebackers because Harold Perkins, you can maybe put him as a linebacker, but I think their secondary, Penn State secondary, is the best secondary in college football. Penn State
I
secondary.
might put Bama above that.
I don't. I like
Kool-Aid
Jalen
McKinstry,
King.
Caleb Downs.
I like Jalen King. We haven't seen Caleb Downs play. I like Jalen
Have
King.
you seen Drew?
Jalen Reed, Jalen King, Keaton Ellis, Johnny Dixon. These guys gave up 18 PPG in 2022, Ben. 18 points per game, 10th in college football. Not to mention Abdul Carter, number 11 on the defensive side of the ball. Micah Parsons, number 2. And this kid's a beast, right? 56 tackles, 10.5 TFL, 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Like, this guy is going to be flying around. So like I said, head up, Penn State, better football team than the LSU Tigers. Quote me on that. Offensively, Ben, let's get back to it. Drew Aller waited his turn. And I think the biggest thing about Drew Aller is that he is kind of going to raise this team's ceiling, in my opinion. Sean Clifford, I always say Steve. Sean Clifford maxed out this team's ceiling, right? We saw what Sean Clifford could do. We knew how good Sean Clifford was going to be every year. This team, the expectations are high for Penn State, and they could come out and really make some noise because Drew Aller could be a guy who leads them to the promised land. So I like Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, 2 guys in the backfield who are going to make a serious impact, not to mention Trey Potts, Minnesota transfer in the backfield. This team is loaded. Too many weapons to talk about on offense because you get 2 transfer wide receivers. Like, this team is crazy good, Ben.
Right, and something that I will mention to say, we have no idea. Drew Aller could come in here and actually help them win games over Ohio State or Michigan.
Sure, yeah.
And so it's something that you just really don't know. And
Yeah.
so, like you're saying, I love Nick Singleton. They have a great running back duo with him and Katron Allen.
Yeah.
That is 22 touchdowns combined right there. That is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And some guy that you haven't brought him up. I know we both wanted to bring him up. Dante Cephas.
I was just about to bring him up, baby. Yeah.
He's a dog. We both love him. And they also brought it back. They brought in Storm Duck in the secondary.
Yeah.
So
Storm
the
Duck.
secondary
I
that you
forgot
like.
to mention Storm Duck. Yeah.
Secondary that you like, they bring in Storm Duck. And so, like I was saying, Drew Aller needs to adjust quick. And because you will have to either beat Ohio State or Michigan. I would say to have a shot at the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so that will be a key piece. And like you were saying.
Sorry.
What?
I was about to say, 12-team playoff, this team's going to be filthy every year. Like, they're consistent next year, but they're going to consistently be in it. Like, consistently.
Yeah.
So,
hopefully.
Dante Cephas.
The division makes it so rough on a team like this.
Dante Cephas, Keandre Lambert-Smith, 2 guys that are just absolute freaking demons. I saw the ball a ton at Kent State. Dante Cephas did just because they freaking whipped it around.
Colin Schlee.
Yeah, Colin Schlee.
That guy.
3rd-string quarterback at UCLA right now,
I'll give him a second.
unfortunately. And, expectations for this team. You got anything else? Sorry, objections before we get to expectations.
Abdul Carter's a dog.
Abdul Carter is a god. I just said a god. Is a dog. He's not a god. Expectations, okay? Penn State should expect 10 wins. I think you need to expect 10 wins. I think if you drop a 3rd game, a lot of fans and a lot of people in the media are surprised. I think you need to stay 2 or 3 in the Big Ten East. I think if you drop below Maryland, drop below Michigan State, if they have a good year, whatever it is, that's a disappointment. I don't think you should expect a college football playoff. I don't think you should expect 11, 12 wins. It's not out of the scenario. They could go in there. They could shock a lot of people and make it happen. Set these sophomores, these younger guys, Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, these returning players up for success in 2024. Like I said, 12-team playoff is only their friend. So I like Penn State, like what they got. Ben, anything else on PSU before we get to the number 2 team of the Big Ten East?
Right, and it's something I know you want to win this year because it is a good year and you have a great lineup.
Yeah,
or a great team.
This ball club's got a great team.
But also, you are setting yourself up very well for the future.
I agree.
And that's something for a 12-team playoff. You have all the talent you need to make a 12-team playoff and make a run. And so, really, just show that connection between Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, and all those guys just playing well together. And, that's something I would love to see as a Penn State fan.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little shysty, Ben. This is where a lot of people are going to disagree with us. A lot of people are going to get on the YouTube comment section and be like, you boys are tripping. Keyboard warriors are going to get after us. I'm here for it. The number... Oh, I got to add the overlay, Ben.
Well, I'm telling you, if you put... It's... Okay, I don't know if we're putting the same team. If you don't put the team second that I'm thinking you're putting...
Because I might.
Okay, good.
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah, I'm scared for a minute.
The Ohio State Buckeyes. I thought we may ruffle a few more feathers than that, but we're not. The Ohio State Buckeyes I say ceiling 12-0, floor 10-2, prediction 11-1. Wins everybody but Michigan, losses Michigan, toss-ups Michigan and Penn State. Pretty simple. They're going to win games. They're going to compete with the top dogs in the SEC or Big Ten. So I got them going 11-1.
Ceiling 12-0. Floor 8-4. It's kind of bold. I would put like 9-3. 10-2 is fine.
4.
My prediction 10-2.
Okay, who they lose it to?
So I got wins against Indiana, Youngstown State.
Oh, I saw it. I took a
Western
peek,
Kentucky, Maryland,
Oh.
Purdue, Wisconsin, Michigan
That's
State.
stinky,
Minnesota.
buddy. That's stinky.
I had to put something in here that would make some good quality content.
You're making good quality content, buddy.
You never know. You never know. It's week 4. They haven't played anybody. It's at Notre Dame.
WKU? They've played WKU and Indiana. Indiana is
counts.
a conference game. WKU.
Okay, so the losses are to Notre Dame and Michigan. Look, hear me out. Last year, everyone thought, oh, Notre Dame, they're gonna get whooped. What was it? A 20 to 21-10 ball game.
Yeah. At Notre Dame this year.
Something very close. At Notre Dame, week 4. Kyle McCord, Devin Brown. Maybe they don't have it figured out. That's just
It better be Kyle McCord, because if I have to watch a quarterback number 33 play for a team I'm going to probably watch week in and week out, I'm going to punch a hole in my team.
Notre Dame is an improved team, and you can't say they're not. You bring in Sam Hartman. Would you have Sam Hartman, Drew Pine?
Sam Hartman.
There we go. And so it is improved, and
I wouldn't say their whole team is improved. I would say their quarterback room is vastly improved. They do have Joe Alt, who's a demon. Logan
you
Diggs.
did lose Michael Meyer, which that hurts.
Yeah, Logan
but
Diggs is gone. How are we going to talk about Notre Dame, Ben?
We can't do independence. Like, that's just
We're
too
not
boring.
doing the independents, bro. We might just throw in him. We might throw him in like the ACC.
We'll see. But I had to put something in here. Look, YouTube, it's just something to throw out there. I'm not.
It's gonna be like Tim Johnson, and his profile picture gonna be like his face like right here. It's gonna be like Ohio State is not losing to Notre Dame. Period.
Look,
You're kidding me.
I understand that. I fully do. But I want to just put something out there. Quarterback situation could be a bit shaky. I want to see something. I want to give myself a reason to watch this ball game. If Ohio State could 100% come out here and whoop up Notre Dame. But
We're gonna be texting you in this game. It's gonna be like 24-0 Notre Dame or Ohio
like,
State. And we'll be
well,
like,
there's
yeah.
that one. But I just wanted to go for something. This Ohio State team is very quality. I don't skill position wise. This might be one of the greatest skill position wise teams
No joke.
ever.
Yeah.
And so if the quarterback play is not figured out, maybe Notre Dame does come out here. Decent defense, you never know. And so that's why I've got them losing.
Oh, it's fun.
I understand the hate on the take. I just wanted to go with it.
Okay. Now, we're going to see that on the Southern Boy Sports Podcast Twitter, so I just hope you understand that. That's going to be up there. Boys are going to be typing away. The keyboard warriors are going to come out to play. But no, like you said, really talented position groups. Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming, Emeka Egbuka, all those guys made serious impacts in 2023. Like I said, really hope Kyle McCord wins the job, which I think he will. And you return Steel Chambers, you're returning Jack Sawyer, Michael Hall Jr., JT Tumaluau. Pretty sure I butchered that, but look, he's a great defensive end. He had a great game against Penn State last year. I know Michigan kind of shut him down in the big game, but I think he's going to come out and make a huge impact. And I like this defense. I like Jim Knowles. I like the schemes he runs because I think he's one of those guys who runs sneaky, stunt blitzes that a lot of teams, it's hard to pick up on. They're a grit, grime defense. You got two linebackers who are absolute beasts in Jack Sawyer and Tommy Eichenberg, and I think both those guys can make serious impact. I like Ohio State to only go. I think they go 11-1. I think they're a fringe playoff team. I think they lose to Michigan again. Unfortunately, Ohio State fans, don't hate on me. 11-1, Ben. 11-1.
It is very reasonable. It really, besides the Notre Dame take, it all comes down to the big game.
Sure.
Can you win it? You haven't been able to in the past. Can you win it? And it's not like you can't say you have better players at
Every spot, just about, than anybody in the country. I know you weren't going to say it.
Yeah.
I'll say it, dude.
Running back wise, no. Against
Travion
Michigan.
Henderson,
Against Michigan.
Mayan Williams, sure.
I love that duo.
I like that
will
group.
say I was about to bring it up They're a great duo, like
Yeah.
20 combined touchdowns, beast.
Yeah.
I was high on Travion Henderson. He got hurt, a bit shaky, but
Sure.
I like him. And it really does come down to this quarterback play. Kyle McCord does have the ability to come out and win this team ball games.
Sure.
Does he have the ability to come out and win the game?
We'll see.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
This is a game. The game, it's such a good.
It's crazy
game,
that you can tell how good of a rivalry it is because we're calling it the game, and people know what we're
Right.
talking about. It's
Right.
the game. Like that's a good college football rivalry.
I
right
could
there.
be talking about Oklahoma, Texas right now.
You're not. Did you see they changed the name back though?
Yeah.
To Red River Rivalry or yeah.
It's not the showdown anymore.
No,
It's
that's
just a
good.
rivalry.
It's the showdown was stupid.
Yeah, why would you
Crap.
make it
Yeah.
that?
Anyways, I like Ohio State. I like Brian Hartline. Like Jim Knowles. I like both of those guys, and I don't think that they have any struggles until Michigan. Maybe they pull out a close game.
Expectations? See the win games. Expectations, you win a bunch of games, but don't be mad about a loss.
Yeah.
I would not expect to go 12-0.
Yeah.
I would not expect that with new quarterback play. You have like a Heisman contender at like every position.
Yeah. That's
But okay,
wild. A Heisman contender at every position.
MHJ.
Who's our Heisman contender at center, Ben?
Okay, not like that.
Like what?
But like defensive line, JT, whatever. Tommy Eichenberg.
Jack Sawyer's not winning the Heisman Trophy.
Okay, but it's
I
candidates.
hope this gets
candidates.
flipped and like they
Okay,
like win the
not
Heisman
like-
or something.
That'd actually be great.
That'd be
They
hilarious.
lose and
Anyways.
Andy wins Heisman.
Let's get to the number one team in the Big Ten East. Michigan.
You get clowned.
The Michigan Wolverines, Ben. Ceiling 12-0. I think your floor is probably about 10-2. And I think your prediction's 12-0. I maybe you lose to Penn State. Maybe you lose to Ohio State. That's probably your floor. Like you're freaking like you hit the floor, rock bottom. You're cleaning public school bathrooms as a
You lied.
55-year-old grown woman.
You said you had no 12-0 teams.
Oh, I'm an idiot. 12-0 is my ceiling.
Uh-huh.
My floor is 10-2.
Right.
My prediction is 11-1. My prediction is 11-1.
It's fine.
Penn State loss. Penn State loss is there.
It's fine. I'm not
At
arguing
Penn
that.
State in Death Valley, I think that's a game that a lot of Michigan fans that I talk to, a lot of Michigan fans that I've heard, they're saying they're more scared of Penn State in Happy Valley.
Yeah.
In that game, probably going to be a whiteout. Like that game is going to be elite, electric game. One of the last weeks of the season, gearing up for the big game. I think you lose to Penn State, although I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan just comes out there, runs them by 24 points like they did last year.
Yeah. And you know, that is kind of what I have happening. Not really the wiping, but they beat them. I've seen 12-0 floor, 10-2. There's no way they lose 2 games.
Yeah, I don't think they lose 2 games.
Actually, I think they could lose 2 games. There's no way they lose under 2 games.
Yeah.
Prediction 12-0.
Yeah.
I've got this team. I said it. They have a thing that most teams don't have, which is the ability to win the game on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And that is what you want to make a run. You have a quarterback who has shown what he can do, has potential, a top running back duo in the country, young but smart secondary.
A secondary that's underrated, in my opinion. We talk about
Yes.
Will Johnson, right? But you got Mike Sanders still coming back, right? You got Rod Moore coming back, right? You got R.J. Moten in the secondary. He was a starter last year. Like, the secondary is good, right? Will Johnson, Ben, you had him as a breakout star earlier on in the offseason. Like, I really do like this team. We're talking skill positions. Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, Darius Clemens, like all these guys out wide, like they're really good, right? Not to mention, like you said, Ben, like we continue to talk about probably the best running back duo in college football.
Yeah. And, you know, there's not really anything I can compare it to the top closest Ohio State.
Maybe.
Anybody else close?
But I think you
there's a team out there I'm just not thinking
I think
of
you
it.
explained it the best, right? I think Ohio State is probably up and down the most talented team in college football, right? I think you have a lot of talented players, like you said, like Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, like all these guys going to be able to compete. Probably one of the best in their position in college football. QB is still a question mark, but Michigan's got the opportunity and the ability to win the ball on offense and win the ball on defense. Like these guys can win games on both sides of the ball, and that's what makes them so good. is that they can win on offense, then they can go get you a stop, and then their offense is explosive. They're going to run clock down. They're going to run the football. JJ McCarthy can throw the ball when he wants to. He's a game manager, but I think he's more than that. I think he's a really solid QB. I think he's good enough to take this team to a national championship, Ben.
I completely agree. And something that I was not sure about JJ McCarthy, and I was a bit ruffled, but then the game last year, he showed out and he was slinging the ball. He wanted TCU game. He was doing that too. So he has shown that he is able to.
He did throw a pick six though to Bud Clark.
There was like 4 pick sixes that game. He has shown though that he is willing to pass the ball and throw it around. And that's something that like I like to see. Stetson Bennett, Stetson Bennett kind of was the same, where you'd be like, okay, I mean he's a game manager. But in some games, he come out swinging. Yeah. So it is interesting. This Michigan team has the potential to go all the way.
Up front on defense, spring game, when we broke down spring games, we did recaps on that stuff, Ben. We talked about the defensive front for Michigan. We talked about the tight end room for Michigan, right? Obviously, you lose Luke Schoonmaker. I think he was a third-round pick to the Cowboys. He's going to end up there. He was a huge piece for this Michigan offense in 2022. So 2023, it's going to be Colston Loveland. It's going to be A.J. Barner. I think Colston Loveland, he's an underclassman. He was the guy that I saw the most of in the spring game. I think I like him the most as a receiving threat. But a gritty tight end room. What else for Michigan? All around, really talented football team. Like I said, I'm losing one game. I think it's hard to go back-to-back 12-0 regular seasons, and that's not an easy thing to do. So I understand 12-0. I can see it. It definitely could happen. 98% could happen. But 11-1, I think you beat Ohio State in the big game again. And I think this team is a national championship appearance team.
Oh,
when are we going to do college football playoff predictions? Because I've got my freaking Final Four.
We already did it.
We did?
Who was our top 4 contenders?
Yeah, well, we didn't really I would say, here's my playoff situation, Ben. Let me put the banner back up here. That was Michigan. All right, that was Michigan. I think Michigan is a really good team. And if you're watching on YouTube, I just kind of teased it. This clip that I'm about to do is going to be over on Twitter, Ben. So just, shout out to that. But Michigan, good team. I think you should expect a college football playoff bid. I think you should really expect a Big Ten championship title once again for the 3rd year in a row. So I like Michigan. Yeah. I like what they got. Really, really solid team all the way across the board. There's no doubt about it. Let's bring this banner back up to the top, Ben, when we close it off. Here's my playoff situation. I think you've got the number 1 seeded USC Trojans. Don't lose a game in the regular season. The number 4 seeded Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay? The number 2 seeded Michigan Wolverines. And the number 3 seeded Georgia Bulldogs. The number 3 seeded Georgia Bulldogs. I think Georgia wins the SEC championship game. I think that gives them the edge. They lose to Tennessee in the regular season like we did. Okay? I think Georgia loses to Michigan. They finally make a run for it. Michigan's in the title game. I think USC beats Alabama. And I think USC Michigan is the title game. And I don't know who wins it yet, but it's going to be one of them. USC Michigan is the title game, Ben.
I'm not against it. I'm not against. I don't know if you. My thing is, usually every year there's a team that you don't expect to make it.
Alabama.
Which that's what I was about to say. I don't know if I don't know if you're using them as that term, but TCU, because Bama's still Bama. Yeah, sure. Don't take that away from them. So I guess that makes sense. Didn't you have Bama going 10-2?
11-1.
Okay, then that's fair. And yes.
11-1.
Do they lose to Georgia in the championship? SEC champ?
Yeah, but it would probably in my situation have to be a close game.
So 11-2.
Yeah.
Going into it, I think you.
Plus, you beat a Tennessee team who's probably ranked relatively highly.
I think you could see a Clemson team like that. Colorado.
Colorado. Oh God. Yeah. Hey, shout out to the guy over on Twitter. I'm gonna pull up his username right now. He was getting at me like Mr. Irrelevant or something like that over on Twitter.
It was Mr. Irrelevant.
He was getting at me, man. He was roasting on me, buddy. I was in the hotel room in Atlanta. I was a keyboard warrior there for a second.
You texted me, and I was like, you sent it, and I was like, what is a
College Football Live 24/7 posted playoff predictions, which, first of all, no digs, but they were questionable, except 3 Tech Pod. Shout out to my boys. And college football live, like the playoff predictions are horrible. Like Clemson making the playoff is a horrible prediction. So is Clemson. I thought it was Colorado because it said CU.
Yeah, I know.
Anyone in their right mind would think that's probably Clemson or Colorado. I just took a wrong guess.
Is it Clemson University too? But
Yeah.
you just put Clemson.
Yeah, I would just put Clem. CLEM. Boom.
You put CU for Colorado.
Yeah,
I swear.
like that's what I was saying. It's
But
literally
I
on their
understand. I
logo.
understand.
It's on their logo. CU on the Buffalo.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it, man. That's it for the episode. Michigan wins the Big Ten East. Everything else we talked about. You'll have individual videos over on YouTube. Get us to 50 subs over there. Ben, any objections before we close it out?
I will say, I think you could switch the rankings you have around. I think you could switch a team in for Bama. They still lose to the 1 seed.
Oh,
so-
we're talking playoff prediction.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
They still lose to the 1 seed, which USC, Michigan, I think we could flip those two. Depends on whichever one
Sure.
doesn't lose a game. I think USC could lose a game for sure.
Yeah.
In that Pac-12 that is so
Stacked,
exciting.
stacked, yeah.
But I see Georgia and Michigan in there, and then that could be a great 2-3 game.
That would be
And the 2 or 3 game will be something to watch no matter what.
Yeah. All right. Well, it has been a loaded episode. Billy Derrick, shout out to him for joining us. Make sure to keep up with his work, vandysports.com, over on Rivals. Keep up with us here. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Get us to 100 over there. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, and that certainly would mean a lot. Ben, any other objection before we close out the 53rd episode of the Southern Boy Sports Podcast?
I'm set.
This has been the 53rd episode of the Southern Boy Sports Podcast. We will be here, same time, same place next week. See you, boys.